In this problem, we need to find the equation for a hyperbola that has vertices at 1/2, -3 and -9/2, -3, and also has asymptotes y plus 3 equals plus or minus 6/5 times the quantity x plus 2. The first thing that I'm going to do is figure out where the center is, because that's a big part of what the equation is. So in order to do that, I like to sketch the graph as I go along. It's not required. It didn't ask you to sketch the graph, but it does make things easier, at least to me, it makes things easier. So the center, I can actually figure out from the asymptote. The center is going to be, it's going to have a y-coordinate of -3, and it's going to have an x-coordinate of -2. So we're going to be at 1, 2, 3, and -2 on the x-axis, -3 on the y-axis. So there's my center, and I know that this hyperbola has vertices at 1/2, -3, and -9/2, -3. So I'll place those. Just estimating a little bit there. And so what I see is this hyperbola has its transverse axis, I should say, parallel to the x-axis. So I know that this is going to turn out to be an x squared over something minus y squared over something equals 1 format. And of course, since the center is not at 0, 0, I'm actually going to make that x plus 2 quantity squared. And then we'll have y plus 3 quantity squared. But I still need to know what a squared and b squared are. And it doesn't matter which one is a squared and which one is b squared, because neither one has to be the larger of the two. It doesn't, the size doesn't determine whether it's the value under x or under y. Okay, so how do I figure out a and b? Well, normally I would just look at the slope of the asymptotes, and I would say, well, that's the proportion of b to a. And I'll do that now, but the problem is, if I say b over a is 6/5, that doesn't necessarily mean that b is 6 and a is 5. And so what I'll do is I'll find out what a is. I can do that because I know where the center is and I know where a vertex is. So what is that distance? That's actually 2.5 or 2.5. So a is not 5, it's actually half of 5. And therefore b would have to be 3. All right, so now I have a and I have b. So I'll put under the x plus 2 quantity squared. 2.5 squared gives me 6.25. And 3 squared gives me 9. And so my final equation for this hyperbola is x plus 2 quantity squared all over 6.25 minus y plus 3 quantity squared all over 9 equals 1.